Hey, Women of Wire, Debbie Holloway here. Excited. This is our last call of the year. That's not why I'm excited. I'm excited because of what I want to talk about today. I was reading something really interesting not long ago, and I shared this with all of my team leaders that I coach. And I think this is a perfect thing, especially for women. Because as you think about it, as we get to the end of the year and we celebrate the passing of a decade, we're all a decade older. That's okay. So as we celebrate the passing of the decade and entering into a new decade, we do really the same thing we do every year. We look at the year behind and we think about renewal and starting fresh and what that means to us. And I think it's great to do. I also believe that rather than looking at, oh my God, this year's over with, I'm so glad, why not look at the lessons we've learned, reflect on what this year was like, and let's not make it a big deal one way or the other. So I have a little exercise I want you to do. I'm going to ask you to write this down. And certainly you can do this now or you can do it later. But the first thing I want you to do is I want you to describe your past year. Describe 2019 in 2 sentences. If you only had 2 sentences to describe 2019. I want you to write that down. And if you go, oh my gosh, I already know, type it in here. I'd love to see. Hey, Trish. Hey, Ann. Hi, Francis. I want you to describe your past year, 2019, in only 2 sentences. I want you to do that because I think it's important for us in moving forward to reflect on this year, on this decade, but we're going to just stick with this year for right now, because if I had to reflect on the whole decade, I'm not sure what that would look like. So, describe your past year in 2 sentences. 2 sentences. Now, I'm going to wait a second. If you want to type it in here, I'd love for you to share. But describe your 2019 in 2 sentences, if you would, please. And then I've got some other great questions for you as well, but let's start with that. Describe 2019 in 2 sentences. Once you've done that, once you've described 2019 in 2 sentences, as part of our reflection, I would ask you this question. What surprised you the most this year? So write that down. This year, I was surprised the most by, and fill in the blank. Fill in the blank. Hey, Karen Stone, I got your announcement. Congratulations. So write this down. I said first, describe your past year in 2 sentences. And then number 2, what surprised you the most this year? What surprised you the most this year? And this one, Karen Stone, you'll relate to. What was your greatest adventure this year? What was your greatest adventure this year? Your greatest adventure. For me, my greatest adventure this year was getting to do a second wire event for women influencing real estate. That was pretty special. And I started to get some requests from around the country from some big companies wanting us to do a wire event in their town or for the women in their office, and we are certainly happy to do that. So I ask you to describe your past year in 2 sentences. If I were describing my past year in 2 sentences, I'd say it was the best of times and it was the worst of times because there were highs and lows throughout the year. What surprised me most this year? I can't think of any big surprises. Yes, a big win, Karen Stone. My greatest adventure this year, my big win would have been the wire event. That's a pretty, for those of you that have never been, it's a pretty inspiring, introspective event. So I've asked you to describe your past year in 2 sentences. I've asked you to write down what surprised you most this year and what was your greatest adventure this year. So this is all part of reflecting on the year. And it's something I would love for you to do and share with us here or email directly to me, either one. But I think it's a really important thing, even if you don't share it with anyone. We as women are so busy. I don't know about you guys, but along with doing my job and running my household and running this farm and speaking and all of the other things that I do, I'm also doing the Christmas shopping, the tree decorating, the everything. Because is that just me, or do most women do that anyway? Because I don't know, maybe my husband just doesn't, he's not interested in it. He likes the way it looks, but it's not his thing. So there's so much we're doing, planning the parties and different things this year. We've got a lot on our plates. So I think it's important for us, sit down with a glass of nice sweet tea or a glass of wine or whatever your preferred beverage is, a cup of coffee, and answer these questions. And if you have a coach, send it to your coach. I made every one of the people that I coach do this exercise and send it to me. And it's very eye-opening. And it was eye-opening for me when I did it, of some of the things I didn't realize that as I wrote it down, it just kind of, it's like hitting yourself in the face with the blinding obvious. So, describe your past year in 2 sentences. What surprised you the most? What was your greatest adventure? Hello, Janet Miller. Long time no see, huh? Just a week ago. Then I want you to think about this. I want you to write down, what were my failures this year? Now, failure is subjective. What you think is a failure, someone else might not think is a failure. However, this is for you to reflect. What were your failures this year? Just write down 3, because I don't know about you, I could probably think of several more than that for me. Write down your top 3 failures this year and write down your top 3 wins of the year. The top 3 wins of the year. I think some of my failures this year were not taking advice and taking action faster. I think a win for me, of course, would be the Wire event. I think the summit was a great event this year. I think a big win for me was more time spent with grandchildren. Who doesn't love that? After you've written down, though, your failures and your wins, your 3 failures and your 3 wins, I want you to answer this question. What did I learn? What did I learn? Hey, Julie Scott Beam, how are you? So, my failures, my wins, and what did I learn? What did I learn? Because we don't make a difference in our own lives if we don't understand what the lessons were. Because I really think, I've been reading this book, I don't know where it is laying around here, I've been reading this book about mythology and how, if you think about it, life, people don't want to just live to live. Life is really best lived through our experiences. It's really all about the experiences we have, good or bad. So write down your failures, write down your 3 wins, and answer this question. What did I learn? What did I learn? See, I think we have to be resolved in what we have done or not done, and resolved in where we're going. We're certain, and when I say resolved, certainty. I know where I'm going. I know what I want to achieve. When I decided to sell my real estate practice, my personal practice, back in 2004, I had sold my real estate company in 2001 in the mortgage company. And then I sold my personal practice in 2004. When I decided to do that, I knew what I wanted to do with my life. I was at the peak of my career. I didn't need to get out of the business, but I was ready to get out of the business. And why not leave when you're on top rather than when you're not on top? That might not have come out quite right, but you know what I mean. So I wanted to leave when I was on top, and I had the opportunity to go and work with Tom. He had just opened his new business, and help him build it. And I was resolved in what I was going to do. My commitment to that has never waned. I've never doubted my decision. I probably could have made more money selling real estate, but it wasn't about the money for me at that point. It wasn't about the money. So answer those questions. And then what I want you to do, I want to read this one to you. I want you to, now that once you do this, I want you to go back and describe your year again in 2 sentences. Now that you've reflected on the failures, the wins, the highs, and the lows, right? Answer that question again, because I think that makes a big difference to us. The way I think about my business and my life And then when I look at my failures and my wins, because I don't think a failure is really a bad thing. The most successful people I know had a lot of failures. Failures are lessons learned. I've always said every day when I write in my gratitude journal, I write, what is a lesson I can learn today and what is a lesson I can teach today? And those are really important to me, to know that I've ended each day learning something new. And literally, I'll Google some just off the wall stuff just to learn something if I didn't feel like I learned something that day. But I always make a point of finding a way to pay it forward every day. I want to be able to leave a legacy. I want to leave a moment of goodness for someone every day. Now, sometimes it's a moment of goodness for a horse, but that's okay too. So, like rescue horses that I do. So then I want you, after you've answered those questions, write this one down. What do you want to focus more on in the coming year? What do you want to focus on more on in the coming year? What do you want to focus on more in the coming year? And I love this quote by Annie Dillard. How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. Think about that. How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. Because before you know it, you'll look back like I have and said, wow, I'm 64. Where did the time go? I can remember being in my 20s and 30s and figured life was going to go on forever. And I was so busy in the moment, just making it through each day, being a single mom, raising my son. I didn't think about stopping now and looking back on failures and successes and all of those things. So that's why I encourage you to take a moment of reflection. Hopefully you'll have some time, maybe after Christmas, but take that 15 minutes to sit down and write. Describing your past year in 2 sentences. What are your failures? What are your wins? Let's see, what else did I say? What surprised you the most this year? What was your greatest adventure? Because my hope for you and my wish for you for the holidays is that you do have time to stop, reflect, and appreciate the good and the bad. Because no matter which one it is, there's always a lesson in there to learn. And those lessons we learn are an opportunity for us to pay forward. Because why else are we here if not to pay it forward? So this is our final call of the year. And we'll be starting back up the first Wednesday of January with a whole lot of cool content for you guys. I wish you the happiest of holidays. And I wish that you take time for yourself, even if it's just a simple moment every day where you just reflect and enjoy on all that you are, all that you've done, and all that you're still going to do. Have a very Merry Christmas.